Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera and I'm joined as always by my two north-facing co-hosts.
Okay.
Katie.
Hi.
And Livy.
Hello.
I am facing north.
You know where north is?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
I'm facing west.
So.
Oh, which direction am I facing?
50% correct.
You're facing Katie. What do you think? Jeez. Don't get lost in the woods with Vera.
Or at sea.
We're at sea.
Ooh,
Oh,
yes.
see what's happening.
On theme.
Yes, this week we're talking about the last two.
Oh my god.
Last two of season 2.
Wow.
Holy shit.
That
goodness.
is intense.
And exciting.
It feels like only yesterday that we were talking about the last two of season 1.
Aw,
Oh.
memories. Well, it is 221 Lost Mariner, and then also Comedy of Eros, which is our hilarious comedy, literally hilarious season finale.
It
for
is.
some reason.
I know, so epic. The most epically hilarious sex farce season finale.
Perfect way to end a season. No.
It was certainly a choice.
It was a choice, and it happened. We will discuss.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, so let's start with The Lost Mariner. Written by Steve Sears and directed by Garth Maxwell.
We were just talking about Garth Maxwell. He directed The Execution.
Oh, so he's a big Gallagher fan.
He's a big Gallagher fan, but he's also going to go on and direct some pretty major Xena episodes. He kind of like Oli is, I would say, a director from Xena's golden period who has a lot of classic episodes under his belt.
Well, The Lost Mariner is about a ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of based on the Flying Dutchman myth,
Which is.
a ghost ship,
Mm-hmm.
but I know it as a Tori Amos song.
Mm-hmm.
I know it as the Frying Dutchman, which is a restaurant on The Simpsons.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
You're a resident Simpsons knowledge person.
Yeah, this is a ye old story. Ghost ships.
Yeah, is it like Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, Pirates of the
I mean,
Caribbean has
shouldn't-
the Flying Dutchman in it. The ghost ship on Pirates is the Black Pearl.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I do believe they go up against the Flying Dutchman. Yeah.
And the Black
It's a
Pearl
ghost
is
ship off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a curse
exactly.
there too that
Yeah.
they can't go to shore and also aren't alive.
So it's a blending of this story with some actual Greek mythology.
Right. Cecrops was a mythological king, the first king of Athens. And he's involved in the story that Cecrops narrates in the course of The Lost Mariner about choosing between Poseidon and Athena for patronage of the new city of Athens.
I think you chose correctly.
Poseidon is such a dick.
He
in
sucks.
this
He
episode.
is. It is really interesting that Poseidon turned out to be maybe the major god of season 2. Towards
Between
the end.
this and Ulysses. you mean?
Whenever they came up with their ship set, you got to deal with Poseidon. So they're using their ship set, so a lot of episodes involve him.
It's really interesting to think about this episode in relation to Ulysses. I think they have a lot in common, including, obviously, the heavy use of Rob's Folly, the ship set. But also, these central figures, these romantic figures of Ulysses and Cecrops. I think one is a lot better than the other.
Team Cecrops forever.
Cecrops forever. I feel like this, even though it's just a few episodes later, to me it feels almost like a remake of Ulysses.
Like a better remake, like how The Price is a better remake of Ties That Bind.
Yeah, it's taking all these ideas of,
Yeah.
Xena on a ship, a romance, and I think dramatizing them in a way that feels much truer to the characters.
Right.
And the
They
situation.
don't make
especially
Xena
where they are right now,
They
yeah.
make fun of the idea that Xena would fall in love with him and break his curse.
Yeah. I mean, and also use it as subtext. You feel like it could be there if you squint, but
I don't see
If
it
Tony
at all.
Todd was Ulysses, I would have been
Yeah.
like, fine, all right.
Here we
I would
go.
be so
Here
there.
we
Okay.
go. This is
Like, she
this
can
is
go
our
off with
leading
him,
man.
it's fine.
This is our character this episode. Cecrops, played by Tony Todd, who is amazing.
Yeah, he's just, he's a larger than life epic hero. he is what you would want a Ulysses to be. He's someone who you could believe has stolen out of a myth. He's just such a towering figure and just really brings that kind of legend to life.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his dramatic, sexy, over-the-shoulder turnaround where he's like,
Oh my God,
because
it's
I'm
great.
worth it.
Well, like first, Xena and Gabrielle get shipwrecked.
Yeah.
That's how the episode starts, with some great stock footage of a ship and VO of Xena and Gabrielle yelling that they're going down.
Oh, no.
And not like that. And
Oh!
then,
She likes what I do.
And then, you know, it seems like, Gabrielle! And Gabrielle wakes up on a little piece of ship. And
Some
she's floating around in
or
the
some
ocean.
jetsam. I never know the difference between flotsam and jetsam. They're both eels, so.
Yeah, I don't know. She's on
It's
a
a
log.
different episode.
And gets pulled up on this ship.
Sharks are on the other side of the
Right,
ship,
and
so in
that's
order to...
Why
you
they
know,
bring her up.
Cecrops makes the choice.
ravenous Mediterranean sharks.
Right, yes.
So we get this miraculous Tony Todd intro that you were just
Yeah.
describing. Continue describing.
Because I'm worth it. His shirt is like all open. It is very similar to Ulysses.
Yeah,
and I guess Hercules too.
split
They're
down to the
romantic
navel.
heroes.
Yeah, yeah.
Big belt. Yeah, very. It really resembles Hercules in the same
Right.
way that Ulysses' costume does.
Right.
Right.
But even more piratey. He has
Yeah,
this,
for
like,
sure, because it's like
bell
looser.
bottom
Yeah, exactly.
pants.
Yeah. It's, everything's just like hanging in the right way.
Sexy hanging.
Yeah.
Gabrielle gets pulled aboard onto Cecrops' vessel.
And a random dude. Don't
And
forget
a
him.
random dude, and also Xena's sword,
Yeah.
which Cecrops immediately confiscates.
Right. I love, so this is another moment of really great acting choices. I have not read the script, but I have a feeling that Tony Todd chose to take the sword and like mime slitting his own throat with it to demonstrate how awesome the sword is. You know, craftsmanship, unique craftsmanship.
But also subconsciously acting out the one thing that he can't do and wishes with all his heart that he could, which is die.
Right.
So that is a really beautiful image. This is also the reveal that Xena isn't in the episode.
She's drowned.
Up till now.
Right, yeah, there's a chance she drowned.
Gabrielle very upset for a very brief period before she sees land very close by and immediately is like, no, Xena got to land.
Yeah.
There's no way she didn't make it over that close.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that the reason that they were shipwrecked was because they were on a merchant vessel and pirates attacked them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a storm, so just like
Right.
the perfect storm of situations.
Yeah.
And Xena crashed that ship.
Yeah, their ship got crashed. The pirates they made it to the rocks. It is important, sort of.
So this other guy who was pulled on board with Gabrielle freaks out
Yeah.
because he recognizes Cecrops and he knows about the curse and he's just like, oh no. So rather than deal with that, he leaps overboard and is almost instantly Avada Kedavra.
Yeah.
It was just a flash of green light and he did, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
eaten by some hungry Mediterranean sharks.
And you get this very freaked out close-up of Gabrielle, who is now, number one, stuck on this ship forever, and number two, is not good with ships.
Yeah.
She is very seasick.
Yeah, but
Right.
I loved the shot of her face. It's a very, it's a close up, and she's reacting to seeing what's happening to this guy.
And she turns to Cecrops and says, you could have prevented that, because obviously Cecrops knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And you immediately see that, once again, Gabrielle is going to be a moral compass for a character who has maybe lost his humanity somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting to have this coming right after the price.
Mm-hmm.
I also really love that little bit of exchange where she threatens him with vomit. She's
All
like,
right.
you can't take me on board unless you want a quick and colorful deck washing. And he's all like flirty about it. Like, I'm not averse to a bit of color. And I'm like, you guys are flirting about vomit. That's
gross.
weird.
Well, she is the first female on board in many, many years.
That's very threatening, and I don't like that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a weird vibe.
I
They
mean,
play it
women
out for
on
laps,
ships-
but it's
Yeah.
very not cool.
Women on ships, it's always a scary thing. You're just like, ew, close confines, horny dudes. No, thank you.
He did say that the last time a lady was on a ship was like 200 years ago, but she was really pissed because he crashed her ship.
He says that she had an attitude about it, which I loved. I love that she had an attitude because they like murdered everyone she knew. But I'm like, I kind of want the fanfic about this lady.
Yeah.
She sounds really
She sounds
awesome.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Xena's on shore,
Yeah, she is fighting off these pirates who
led by Sean Connery.
Right.
He does. He looks like him a little bit if you look
Squint,
correctly.
yeah.
Yeah.
They want to take her in and sell her to some guy because it'll be a big reward. And so she's like outmaneuvering them. But half of the time, you know, her focus is on the boat. She knows Gabrielle's on that boat.
Uh-huh.
So she's like in a hurry.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, like, she, like, just doesn't have time for these pirates. They keep trying to threaten her, and she's like, okay, that's nice. Bye.
Yeah.
Gotta run along these cliffs now. So meanwhile, we're on deck with Cecrops. There's these great moments of Cecrops bantering with his crew, which I feel like is really nice. Like, the way Tony Todd plays this.
Yeah.
You immediately get the sense that this guy has relationships with everybody on board this vessel. You know, that they have this, like, shared language and in-jokes. And, like, it's a very full picture of what life on this ship has been like. I also really love the detail in the casting that his entire crew are like a bunch of geezers.
Yeah.
They've been on that ship so long that they're all aging, which is why later you hear Cecrops says that he needs a new crew. He knows they're all getting on in years and he has to start some turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was so maybe familiar with Pirates of the Caribbean or something that it took me a minute to realize that they weren't all just immortal on the ship together. That it was
Just the one
only
guy.
him. Yeah, I don't know why it took me a really long time.
I think it's really cool. I think that's, you know, he's living the life of a vampire, really. It's rough because these guys, he can't make anybody his companion for eternity. Like, he just has to watch them die once in a while, get a new crew.
He's especially in a difficult position because, you know, he wants companionship, but anybody who comes on board is doomed.
Yeah.
So he's like inflicting his presence on all these people, which I think is an interesting aspect of like his kind of loving and joking relationship with his crew.
He makes Gabrielle the new cook.
Which I guess she'll be good at. She does love food.
She does.
I mean, we have learned...
I'm sorry, doesn't he make a joke about it because he sees her puking? He's
Yeah.
like, you know a lot about food.
I see you have experience with food. She very much does. She loves food. We know that she, you know, is the one that's connected most with all of their cooking utensils from A Day in the Life, so she might be a good ship's cook.
But meanwhile, there's like that one really creepy guy who's just all over her. Altrek, I think that's his name.
Creepy geezer.
Yeah, creepy geezer just creeping on her.
It is kind of rough. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
It is a little bit
It's
uncomfortable.
just like, especially before Xena gets there, who can help like diffuse these situations. I just really felt Gab's predicament, which is she's alone in this very hostile environment. And I feel even Cecrops is pretty threatening towards her. Like, you're gonna be my cook. Like, okay. It's to make sure my men don't rape you.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. Like, great. So happy to be here.
Poor Gabs.
Well, she's seasick. That's for sure. That's
and
back.
I love the makeup that they give her. She looks very green.
Really,
yeah, she looks good.
She goes down to Cecrops' cabin and goes through all his treasures.
Right. Because he steals a lot from pirates. So there's a lot of, like, really priceless stuff on there.
Yeah. He makes it clear that what he's really stealing from pirates are pirates. He needs crew to man his ship.
Yeah.
But he keeps their ship so that Poseidon can't get it.
Right. Yeah. He has a beef with Poseidon.
Right.
I really loved Gabrielle's line about how to judge beautiful objects. You know, for Cecrops, they're not worth anything because they have to stay on the ship with him. And she says, well, that's not how you value beautiful objects. The only way to judge beauty is by how it touches the soul. Which again is such a Gabrielle line.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she is not a practical person. She doesn't look at something and see like how much it costs. She sees it.
Yes, she does.
That too.
She does that, but at the same time, she has that temperament of seeing beyond the material.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Xena is on shore being very Xena. There's a lot of flips and a lot of arrow catches, and this is not even like when she does her big flip.
Oh, not yet.
This is just like extra
Xena's
Xena
on shore
business.
trying to get away from these pirates and to get to a good like vantage point to get to the ship for a good 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
And Cecrops realizes that she's trying to get on board, so he's like, move the ship, like, turn away, to make it difficult for her.
Yeah, and this is great because, it's kind of an obstruction. You're like, Cecrops, stop it. We need Xena on board the ship, but he's trying to spare her something.
Yeah.
He's in the right in a lot of ways here. He doesn't want this poor woman to share in his burden. So he's like, get away from the shore, even though we need Xena in the episode. Come on, Cecrops, get the picture. Yeah, but I love that once again you have a really complicated situation where everyone is right and everyone is wrong.
Well, Xena's found her vantage point, and she's definitely gonna get on that ship.
Boy, has she.
How does she do it, guys?
Okay.
Let's describe.
So she climbs a tree with a bunch of arrows that she caught. She jabs the arrows into the bark to climb
rock
straight
climbing
up.
wall.
And when she gets there, she finds the best branch and she runs across it and starts doing uneven bars on this branch. So she's flipping around and flip, 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 flip. And there's this great little shot of the pirates aiming their crossbows at her, and they all have to keep rotating on the spot because
they can't focus on
her
her.
position keeps changing. So she's flip, 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 flip. And then she lets go, and she flies up onto another branch, and then starts bouncing on it.
Like a trampoline.
Yeah, she's bouncing like a trampoline, and it launches her right into the air. And we counted the amount of flips that she did.
Visibly, there were 12.
Yeah.
But there were also cutaways to Gabrielle excitedly reacting to this situation.
I love that she just laughed.
Just because she loves Xena.
It is. I mean, that's
She
our
loves
reaction.
that.
And-
The audience is,
So
you don't know how much I
12
love that. Your flips.
So 12 plus a few.
Yeah.
Maybe 15, 16.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the most extra Xena has ever been, maybe ever will be.
This is the long flights she hates.
Is she flipping it out?
She's probably stressed.
Flipping it out.
Gabrielle's
yeah, 'cause
stuck.
Gabrielle's stuck on
She
a ship.
knows
And
as
she knows,
well that it's Cecrops' ship, so she knows what she's getting herself into by flipping herself onto this ship. She does this because Gabrielle is there, and it's romantic and ridiculous, and
So
I
you're
love it.
saying that 12 flips is Xena's way of saying, I love you.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Where does she land on the ship? Up high on
Yeah, it's just kind of
the
slide
rigging.
down.
rigging, and slides down and lands.
Yeah.
And
gets her chakram along the way, which
Gets
she
the
had
chakram.
previously thrown onto the ship to
It
cut the
bounced
mast.
off the water like
Yeah.
a stone.
yeah.
Right, that
And
was
you were like, well,
wild.
now she has to go. She has to go
Right,
get a chakram.
her
back.
chakram is embedded in their mast, so she better get on that ship.
All the pirates clap when she.
I immediately was like, oh, they're clapping because all her flips were so awesome, but you guys were they're like, yay, another woman on our ship.
No! I think they were impressed as well.
Anyway, once she's on deck, Gabrielle basically launches herself at Xena into a delightful hug. And I love that Xena, in that moment, poses herself with the chakram in case the pirate dudes and the crew are going to come at them. So she has Gabrielle in one arm hug, and then the other arm has her chakram ready to attack just in case. I just love that image of her and the two of them like that. Continuing with the adorableness, they have their happy reunion hug, and Xena does a very adorable kind of checking Gabrielle over to make sure that she's not hurt. And she's kind of looking at her face and being like, are you all right? And Gabrielle's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm really seasick. I'm super seasick. And again, launches herself into Xena's bosom.
But this time, Xena has a cure for Gabrielle's seasickness, which is a pressure point, similar to C-bands.
It's literally the C-band pressure point.
Yeah.
Those things work.
Katie
this
knows.
is not sponsored by by C-band, but
It should be.
dude, they are good.
Do they allow you to eat raw squid?
Yeah, Katie, have
Maybe.
you done that?
In a taxi, next time we're in a taxi and I have my C-bands on, I will test it out
Okay.
and have some raw squid.
So I was really impressed that this was actual seafood that she was eating.
Yeah.
So it's not, like nowadays you're like, oh, it's made out of jelly. It's like a fake candy.
No, they
kind of
made
thing.
Renee eat marinated octopus.
Yeah. That's really gross.
So gross. But good sport that she was like resigned herself to eat
Yeah.
it and then proceeded to just try and gross people out with it because she had to eat it anyway, so might as well fuck with everyone.
Yeah, of course.
But we talked about this in Ulysses. We were all mad at Xena for
Right.
not having taught her this, just
Yeah.
letting her suffer through that episode, much as we were suffering. I love that it's actually brought up in this
Yeah,
episode.
the
She's like,
continuity.
why didn't you teach me this? And of course, it turns out that there are side effects, which seem to mostly be that you don't have taste buds anymore.
Yeah. And it also made it seem like she became ravenous, so she would eat anything that was in sight. But no, I mean, she just chose to have some raw squid because her boyfriend offered it to her.
Oh my
Jeez.
god,
Boyfriend of the week, that one guy.
Oh, geez.
Oh,
I love
User.
the scene of her with the squid hanging out of her
Yeah,
mouth,
it
just
was
sitting
really
there,
cute.
so cute.
I also really love that she's like hugging the bowl of
Yeah.
tentacles to herself, like really hugging it tight. It's such a cute little girlish like behavior.
That's what I look like when I eat popcorn.
If Xena knew this was going to happen, she could have said something.
Yeah, again, points out to Xena.
Come on.
One episode she lets her suffer with seasickness. This one she cures that, but like does not mention maybe you shouldn't be eating a raw squid right now.
Yeah. Xena.
So Xena goes down to Cecrops' cabin to confront him about his various issues. We haven't talked about it yet, but I loved the lighting in Cecrops' cabin. You see the light shining through the grid of the rigging, so it has this very kind of like underwater magical quality. Really nice piece of set design.
I love that he gives her sword back. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and a nice gesture of respect.
Yeah, exactly. And he reveals to her, his backstory, basically.
He had the love of his life, Teray, who was there on shore and came to visit him every day after he had been cursed. So he would see her on the other side of this whirlpool that Poseidon created at the same time as he cursed Cecrops. So every day he would see Teray, and eventually he stopped seeing her, and that's how he knew she died. I thought that was a very beautiful...
Very tragically romantic story.
And this story to me has a lot of notes of these kind of nautical fairy tales where you have the husband out at sea, lost, the wife sort of like Penelope
Yeah.
from Ulysses.
Waiting.
Waiting for him, waiting for his return, returning to that same spot on shore every day. So they see each other.
That scene is so good in the Odyssey, NBC's The Odyssey.
Yeah, in a way, I would say that Cecrops is actually a much more faithful, romantic figure than the Ulysses from Xena, who just was like Penelope, who.
That episode is so bad. Why are you even talking about it so
I'm
much?
sorry. Well, like I said,
This is the do-over.
Yeah.
This is
That's
do-over.
right, that's right.
So here he is. He tells the story of Teray. He sees her beautiful green eyes in the light of his emerald.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this guy, I have respect for him. He loved this woman. He misses her. He was loyal to her. He came to visit her every day until she became too old to come out and visit him. Like, that is love.
And that's the moment he lost faith.
He realized he was never going to be cured of this curse.
Just to be clear, the way to break the curse is through love,
Right.
which is a confusing kind of confounding
What does it
state.
mean?
Yeah, we don't
Doesn't know what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xena tells him, you have to have faith, as you
Yeah.
said. And he says, faith has killed more people than war. I thought was especially coming out of the price, that feels really significant.
Right, and to me, they go hand in hand. So
Yeah, absolutely.
should we talk about Hitsim?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of love,
Yeah. So he's the Gabrielle of Cecrops' ship.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really great scene where Gabrielle is, happily eating away on her squid, and he's twining rope, and he sort of is like, come twine rope with me. There's some cursed ghost ship humor between them.
Yes, he starts making her do the rope to tying knots and stuff, and is like, of course now you're going to be doing that forever. And he's just a little cursed ship humor.
Yeah.
And they have a great rapport.
Yeah, and I mean, he is certainly my favorite character from the ship. He is also the one.
Not Cecrops?
No, I my heart kind of goes out to this guy hits him. I mean, I came up with a whole fanon about him, which is that he is the Gabrielle to Cecrops' Xena. He's in love with him. And we sort of have proof of that love later on.
Mm-hmm.
But even now, you have the pet name, Rama, that he calls him.
Right, yes, exactly.
The name of this great hero.
Yeah, and so initially, in the beginning of this episode, this guy hits him, is the one who tells Cecrops to get Gabrielle and that other guy onto the ship because of the sharks. To him, even knowing that everybody's like cursed on this ship, he's like, gotta save them. We can't leave them to the sharks.
Yeah, you're right. That is absolutely a Gabrielle opinion to have. We find out a little bit about Hitsim's backstory. First, he tells this ridiculous story about saving orphans. And that's how he ended up on Cecrops' ship. And then, no, of course not. He's a pirate, just like all the rest. But you love that he has this.
But he was going to give it up, He was going to turn good.
Yeah. And it's a great reminder that pirates can be good people.
Yeah.
He is clearly someone with a very strong sense of what's right and what's wrong, but he was still a pirate.
Yeah, and he has a daughter who would be Gabrielle's age.
Which I guess is why he keeps calling her little one, this term of endearment. It's what he would call his daughter if she were around.
Personally, I didn't need those explanations. I would have been fine with just coming up with my own reasoning for what this guy's all about,
True. But I like that it's there because I like when it comes back around.
Yeah, exactly. They do good at the end with it. Poseidon comes to say hi.
He is a stupid
He's
asshole.
really dumb. I hate him.
He's voiced by Charles Siebert,
All right.
our favorite Sisyphus.
Oh, this is also the episode that has a reference to Warrior Philosopher.
Oh, that was so
Centaries?
completely specific, but also insanely random. I forget exactly what Xena is saying to merit this sick burn of Cecrops, but he's like, whoa, we have a regular Centaries on board our ship. And you're like, oh yeah, Centaries, that ridiculous dude from Royal Couple of Thieves. Nice reference, Steve Sears. Good continuity.
Poseidon's a bitch.
He does this interesting thing, which he's there seemingly just to taunt Cecrops. But then in a kind of afterthought, he's like, oh, hi, Xena. Hey, Xena, I grant you safe passage off this vessel. The curse does not apply to you. And Xena's like, what about Gabrielle? And he's like, oh, yeah, you can take her too. It's fine.
Yeah, he literally sounded like that.
Which is funny because, it's actually pretty smart. He's like, you are going to wreck my plans. I'm going to quickly give you an easy out from this situation.
Well, do we know that at the time that that's what...
I mean, Xena pretty immediately says, I must be onto something with breaking the curse via going to this whirlpool, which we haven't really talked about.
Right.
Charybdis.
So, Poseidon put up Charybdis between the town that Teray lived in.
Yeah, it's right, I think, along
and
shore.
Cecrops' boat. Yeah, exactly.
So Xena has discerned that this whirlpool has something to do with breaking the curse, and they're heading back towards it, which freaks out Poseidon, but it also freaks out Cecrops.
Yeah.
Who we now realize is maybe not super excited at the prospect of having the curse broken because of his guilt at having condemned so many people to death.
This is very Xena of him.
It's very Xena of him. He's a great character, and he has a lot of complexity. And it's frustrating when later Poseidon comes back and offers Cecrops an easy out, which is that he can throw Xena into Charybdis and break the curse that way. Mm-hmm. You do worry that he may actually do that. He's a complicated enough person that you think, well, he could do that. He could deem that to be the way out for his problems. And Tony Todd just plays all of this so well.
That's the key, is Tony Todd. He really sells everything about the complexities of Cecrops.
Yeah, and makes him so lovable despite being an ambiguous figure.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about it, but in the background of all this is the pirate ship that's after them, and the leader of the pirates is like, well, Xena's definitely going to figure out this curse, and we better be there to get all the treasures from the ship.
Right,
And also
you're being
Xena.
chased.
So.
I thought you were also going to say in the background there's a scene where you can hear Gabrielle like squeakily puking.
Oh, is this after Xena tells her about the fact that she's going to eat everything weird?
Yeah, it is.
And she's like, oh no,
Yeah.
squid.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to ship Cecrops and Xena? How do you guys feel
I
about
I don't think
feel
so.
that at all. I mean, this is literally the opposite of what was happening.
It's like,
in
we're
Ulysses.
sorry about Ulysses.
Like Ulysses was like hammering, like it was like shoving that down, like the squid into Gabrielle's throat.
Eat that squid! Eat it, audience!
But here it's like these are two people that understand each other. I mean, they are very similar, and you connect them together with their past experiences and just how complex they both are, and how they're like the leaders of these groups and just wise people.
When he says to her, like, what are you going to do? Like, fall in love with me? And she kind of pauses on her way out. You know in that moment that that's not going to happen.
It's as if they're joking about Ulysses and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that I would believe it here, almost, kind of. So
Like here, like, okay, it makes more sense. Like, look how, deep he is. Look at his problems.
Well, I think the whole through line of this episode is great in that Xena does teach him to love, but it's not via some kind of, ridiculous, like super force, super speeded up romance.
Yeah.
It's just via example.
Yep.
He
With
sees
Gabrielle.
the way she treats Gabrielle. He sees the way she sees the world and says, oh, I see.
Yeah.
You've opened my eyes.
Right.
Yeah. I do love his line where he confronts Xena and says, do you fear injury? Do you fear death? Do you fear the death of the people you love? I fear life. I just think that's such a fascinating thing for a character to say, that this guy has been living in this kind of limbo so long. He wants to die. That for him that would be a happy ending for him.
released from the curse.
Which makes it
Released
interesting
from
that actually isn't what
life right now.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, you almost expect that this dark figure is going to die because that's the only price he can pay for having, caused all these poor pirates to die on board a ship for no reason.
Yeah.
Poseidon starts up some trouble, and a big old wave hits the ship.
Big old special effects wave comes crashing down.
But they saved money on showing Poseidon the second time. Like,
Yeah.
I was
Just a
afraid.
little light.
I was afraid he was gonna come out of like some water glass on a ship or something. His big old head. But no, it was just like light through
Like
the
in
window.
Ulysses.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to see Poseidon head everywhere.
So I love that, Poseidon wreaks his havoc, and this big wave comes, and, everybody's like, whoa, inside the ship,
Yeah.
there's water everywhere, and it becomes the Poseidon adventure.
Oh,
Of
Which is
course.
funny because Poseidon.
Well.
That just made me think of that time on Friends when Chandler was being Shelley Winters in the Poseidon Adventure. But never mind, forget that. You can cut this. But it's really funny. So yeah, everybody's doing we're on a crazy rocking boat acting. And there's an excuse here for Gabrielle to go flying again into Xena's arms.
Well, I think this is a really important moment because Xena kind of calls to her, right? She wants to save her. And then 2 seconds later, as she has her in her arms, they kind of roll away from a big crate that comes their way.
Yes.
And then cut to hits him, seeing this big old crate coming towards Cecrops, and what does he do? He jumps to
In
save
front
him.
of it, he pushes him out of the way.
Which, of course, is absurd because Cecrops is immortal, but Hitsim loves him, and that is his instinctive...
She says he just reacted.
Yeah. And here's my problem, and I know partially it is the solution to it, because once Cecrops realizes that, his eyes are open to, that he has to also feel the love. But I just wish that this curse was broken by, one of these pirates falling in love with him.
You ship Hitsim
I do.
and Cecrops.
I think I honestly...
Hitsops.
Yeah, Hitsops. OTP. For eternity. I think I'm really into that kind of story where like these people were forced to be together and then it's like this love kind of emerged.
But of course he has to reciprocate or and that's what he's learning here.
Yeah.
And it's, originally it's very hard for him because he has all this guilt about having put everybody in this situation. So what it really is he has to overcome that guilt. He has to put that away so that he can love in return. He makes everything about himself, his emotional baggage, everything he's been through. As soon as he can put that aside and just be like, I love these people, even though I feel guilty for putting them here and feel indebted to them, I love them.
It's very similar to what happens to Xena in the beginning of the show.
Absolutely.
Again, Gabrielle loved her immediately.
And Xena had
to learn to do it and accept things about herself in order to reciprocate that love.
And of course, it's a very complicated situation. She is exposing Gabrielle to all sorts of dangers, and her, inflicting her presence on Gabrielle is both a wonderful thing and, from a certain point of view, a very terrible thing. So, it really is. Cecrops is, I think, the most Xena-esque character we've yet encountered in the show. Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're so accepting of this episode.
And so happy that he gets a happy ending at the end.
He does, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he is tempted a little bit, again, at the end, when they do reach Charybdis. Xena volunteers to go into this dangerous position of going up in the... What is it called?
Nest.
Crow's nest? Mm-hmm. Bird's nest. And her sword falls out, and he can grab her sword and cut the rope, and she would fall right in there.
Mm-hmm. He'd be free.
Yeah, be Poseidon's, and he would be free. But he doesn't do it.
He realizes it's a trick, that Poseidon is actually actively obstructing him from realizing that he cares about Xena and that he cares about his crew, and that it would be actively selfish of him to break the curse by sacrificing one of his crewmates in this way. So he realizes that the only thing he can do is sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
For the love of the people around him. Put a pin in it.
Oh boy. He does this belly flop into Charybdis.
Straight on in. I liked these shots, these CGI shots of Charybdis.
I mean, you had to have it. If you're having it, how can you not sort of do...
the limits of technology at that time, I think it looks pretty good. They edit it together with the practical footage that they shot in such a way that you accept it, I think.
I was okay with the whirlpool. I wasn't really okay with the wave.
Yeah, I mean, that one didn't.
It was fine.
The best
I was okay
anymore,
but
yeah,
the
that's
wave
okay.
wasn't.
That's
quite
okay.
Good.
I don't care.
Yeah, it wasn't. It doesn't make
no
a
one cares.
Big deal.
Yeah, But I think because they're just these cutaway shots to kind of give you a sense. It's almost like looking at a map. They just want you to know where your characters are in space, and you accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're not like, oh, this has to look real. You're just like, I just need this to figure out what's going on. So Cecrops has this big revelation, and it's really, I love how Tony Todd plays this. It's just joyful revelation. He's just laughing about it, I get it, Xena. Ha ha. Love will save us. Bye.
I mean, it does.
And it does.
It breaks the curse.
So then his entire crew plus Xena and Gabrielle are there on a beach.
Yeah.
Xena finds the chakram washed on shore. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I would be way stressed if I didn't have my chakram and just washed up on this beach.
And all the geezers are kind of kissing the ground. And Gabrielle's boyfriend is breaking up with her.
Yeah, she says it was great for me or whatever. Oh, man. I mean, she was
gross.
Too good of a sport, I have to say. Yeah. Way too good of a sport.
Was, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck politeness.
Exactly,
Gabrielle.
Exactly. But her and Xena are very wet and cute. Walking off together. What did I say? Go ahead. Continue.
Wet and cute.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's all good. They do find Cecrops washed ashore.
Cecrops did not die in Charybdis. He washed ashore. He's immortal, after all. Athena granted him his immortality. That wouldn't be broken by the curse. It's a whole separate thing. Yeah. So he still has it. And he's happy about it, even though he's still going to outlive everybody he ever knows.
Yeah, bummer.
He's going to wander the earth for all eternity. But he's happy.
He's going to show up in the reboot.
At least he's on land.
So yeah, he goes off to visit Hitsim's daughter.
Right, which is what we were talking
Gabrielle's
about.
Suggestion.
How it ends well for that.
Yeah.
So he's going to Southeast Asia somewhere, presumably.
I love that little, he kisses his fingers and, like, puts them to Gabrielle's cheek. I thought that was a very sweet gesture.
It
was cute.
Yeah, and I loved his line, like, I think I'm gonna walk there.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I wouldn't, he's never going on another boat. I don't think Gabrielle should ever get on another boat, but she will, but...
And, of course, to be, like, ominous about it as if this was going to come back again, and of course it doesn't. The captain, the Sean Connery captain of the pirate ship, is now the new Lost Mariner.
Right.
Just to always have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't need to come back. It's a nice little creepy beat to end on, I think.
Because
Yes.
it's like the
It's a
Flying Dutchman.
continuing
It's such
story.
a spooky idea. You
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
believe that's always out there. You don't want to solve that problem.
Yeah, ghost ships are really scary.
They're freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. But supposedly they can be explained by some kind of optical illusion involving light and water. You can see a reflection of your own ship that looks like a ghost ship.
That's crazy.
Well, what did you guys think of this episode being the second to last one?
I really like this episode.
I do too. I don't think it should be this far back, but, you know, it was a really good one. Good standalone.
Yeah, it's a good
Good fix it
standalone.
for Ulysses.
Good fix it for Ulysses.
Yeah, like
good
an
use
apology
of boat.
for
Yeah.
Ulysses.
Excellent use of Rob's folly.
Yeah, I love this. We didn't really talk about it, but they clearly, it's the same ship. You can tell for sure based on the steering wheel.
Right, from Ulysses.
Because it has the little horns on it.
Yeah.
And they just dress it to be, oh, this is 300 years old. Look at all the tatters on it. It's really cute.
Yeah. But it shows, they have this new set, their boat set, and you can tell all sorts of stories on that set. And
Yeah.
this is, I think, one of the best.
Yeah.
In that it combines these myths about the Flying Dutchman with these ideas of, a Xena analog figure and teaching that figure to love in the same way that Xena has been taught. So it's tapping into the show's primary themes in a way that feels very satisfying. Is it a season finale? No.
I mean, it's not, because
But
there's another episode after
That's
this.
true, which is even less
Yeah,
of a serious
yeah,
finale.
yeah.
So it's really easing you out of season 2. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, here's a really intense episode. Here's a standalone with some serious issues, but I wouldn't call it intense. Here's a comedy! Bye!
Have fun in the summer. All right, well, let's talk about it. 222, a Comedy of Eros. Written by Chris Mannheim and directed by our favorite actor-director, Mr. Charles Siebert.
Oh, Charles Siebert.
Our favoriteest
He-
of Sisyphus.
He was
and
doing
Poseidons.
Poseidon's voice
Oh,
in
shit.
Lost Mariner. We didn't talk about it, but...
Yeah, we did.
Oh, shit.
Remember that? It was 2 seconds ago.
How much have you drank?
So this episode starts with Daddy Cupid, and he's trying to get little baby Eros to bed so he could go bone his mom.
Wait,
In
the
peace.
baby's name is Bliss.
The baby's name is Bliss.
I made this exact same mistake
What?
as you. When I watched it, I don't know, I just assumed he was Eros, because
Yeah,
Eros
'cause
is a
he's-
little Cupid baby.
And he's the one making the comedy.
Cupid is sometimes mostly known as a little baby with an arrow, but here he's Carl Urban, who's a giant man with an arrow.
So who the fuck is Bliss?
I don't know.
Bliss is their baby, his baby,
Is this
with
like-
unidentified woman.
Is this
Yeah.
a Greek mythological
Bliss?
thing? Bliss
It's
that
the
a
baby?
emotion related to love.
It's their little child, climax.
Oh boy.
That's an emotion related to love. No.
So I have a lot of questions about this whole arrangement. Who is Bliss's mom?
Unidentified. I didn't even know it was the mom. I was like, he just has a lady up in there.
I know. I mean, he could. I like
Yeah.
to think of Cupid as being like this hip and hot single dad, like raising a baby on the side while I'm like, maintaining his career. And it gets really stressful sometimes.
Yeah, because he
but
leaves all the weapons on the wall.
Yeah, that little apartment he has is so
Yeah.
not baby proofed at
No.
all. It totally reminded me of like something the Green Arrow would have.
Oh my
that just
God.
like wall of bows, like
Yeah.
way too many bows. He's compensating for something with all the bows.
I have some info if you want to go backwards in time to when we were talking about classical mythology.
And
Sure.
Bliss, you have something on Baby
There's
Bliss.
no direct equivalent in classical mythology, according to the Hercules and Xena wiki. But Eros and Psyche had a daughter named Volupta,
Oh no!
Oh no.
personification of pleasure and delight.
So baby climax.
So they're baby boobs, I think, is what that is.
All right, fine.
Anyway, carry on.
Little baby Bliss can fly and does.
I love the little reveal of his wings when he works himself out of the baby burrito and you see the wings and they really flutter, unlike Cupid's dumb wings that are just like glued onto his back.
Yeah.
Little baby Bliss's wings go do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And I like how this episode carries on the Xena tradition of enjoying babies in the air,
Yeah.
and or
that baby
flying
really
through the
enjoyed
air.
it. Yeah.
Yo,
that was
that
like so
baby's
many
having
shots of just time of his life or
Yeah.
her life. I don't
a
know.
great time.
So little baby Bliss gets the bow and arrow.
It's very lethal looking, baby Bliss.
It was very small.
It was made for a baby.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a plot hole.
Technically, Cupid's supposed to be holding that, right?
Yeah, these are all
isn't it
Cupid's
funny
weapons.
how he would have a tiny little. So the baby goes to town. He literally goes to town and causes all the chaos imaginable. We have our introduction to the plot of the episode, which is the Hestian virgins.
Who we've heard about back in Miss Amphipolis.
Oh.
That's who Xena, as Miss Amphipolis, volunteers with some Hestian virgins.
Okay, so Chris is kind of into that.
Yeah, so it's
This
almost like
continuity
she's
of her own episode.
foreshadowing, like Xena pretending to be a Hestian virgin later on.
Spoilers.
Whoops.
They release all these doves, I guess. That's like a thing.
I have in my notes, what music video is this like? And I tried to Google that. I Googled like doves.
Slow-mo dove.
Oh, it's Total Eclipse
Yeah.
of the Heart.
Yep.
Slow-mo doves. All right, well, the Hestian virgins are reenacting some Total Eclipse realness.
And Xena and Gabrielle make their appearance, and they're here to protect them against Draco.
Once again, Draco is trying to sell some women into sex slavery. This is like Draco's thing. I hate to say this because I'm kind of a Draco fangirl, but he sucks.
He's not the best.
No, this makes him more awesome.
This is like his MO. And yeah.
Flesh peddling, as Gabs put it.
Yeah. He's gross.
Well,
No, it's interesting that she didn't, I didn't think about it, but she should have some intense, PTSD.
He literally tried to sell her into slavery, and now he's like perving on her. And yeah, they could have definitely gone there with her being like, I thought I'd escape this.
But alas, this is a comedy episode.
Yes,
Right.
so you're only allowed a certain amount of rape jokes in this
Yeah.
comedy
Oh, geez.
episode.
Yeah, and they sure do
They
that.
sure get the most they can.
Oh,
Yeah,
yikes. Is that a coin?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, while you're doing that, Gabrielle is talking about how difficult it is for her to be chaste
All right.
when they're talking about the Hessian virgins. And I'm going to say that Gabrielle, making that aside to Xena, just between you and me, about how difficult it is, she just meant her entire life up till she had sex with Perd. Because now she's fine. She's not talking about right now.
I don't know. I don't even see her being that into it before Perd, but whatever.
I feel like Xena's reaction to her saying that line about being chaste, where Xena's like, chaste? In this like dubious way. It's as if
You mean chaste, S-E-D, right? That's what...
Well, I wonder if like Xena's like, girl, like when a lady goes down on another lady, that's called sex. You're not
I
chaste.
think Gabrielle is that naive.
Yes.
That's terrible.
I do think Gabrielle's
That's
that naive.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Xena then jokes that she just meant that she thought it would be difficult being a Hessian virgin to answer to a bell all the time, not the sex part.
Yeah, I wanted to mention how in my notes I have, Gabrielle was a real horn dog, question mark?
I like Gabrielle's line, the hardest part of serving Hestia would be giving up the chance to fall in love again. It's a very sweet and sad line.
What does she mean, though? Because she's already in love.
Well,
Again.
Yeah. Oh shit, you're right. I didn't even think that one through.
Everything is about Perd, okay? But then now it's not.
This episode really has a war on the subtext.
This it literally does. This episode is actually kind of, I think, designed to stomp on the subtext. There's an interview with Chris.
But not
on
really.
Bush.com.
Really. Because at the end, I feel like it gets a little serious about Xena and her love for Gabrielle.
Yeah, well, here's a quote from Miss Mannheim, who I lovingly call our number one heterosexuality pusher.
Yeah, well,
Of
we
the
had
writing
based,
staff?
I feel like we should explain that a little bit. Well, like, we had based that off of, I think, some later seasons interviews where she talked about how she was really into Gabrielle and Joxer.
Which is
so,
weird.
So we just like to lovingly poke fun.
I realize now that maybe she's so proprietary of Gabrielle Joxer because she starts it here. Like, she created that ship.
Yeah.
I thought we mentioned how in bells for him the bell tolls or whatever that kind of started there.
Yeah,
Where
there's a
the
seedling.
seeds were already there in that one, so it's not like she came up with this brand new concept.
She watered those seeds, though.
Ooh, that sounds sexual. Well, here is her quote from this interview regarding the subtext. We kind of backpedaled a lot on that. I don't know whether it's getting read in no matter what we write, but I think we've said, we've had our run at that and just concentrate on other aspects of their relationship. Whatever people read into it, they do.
Yep, that they do.
So then she continues to say, you can only do that so much before it gets to be old hat and kind of tired.
Oh, no.
Chris!
I think as long as we concentrate on the relationship, whatever that involves, however people choose to interpret it, that's perfectly up to them.
All right.
But yeah, I do wonder if this episode got some kind of, network notes because they go out of their way to kind of like make fun of homosexuality, but not all the way. Like, for instance, when Baby Bliss does his arrows in the very beginning here, you have like a guy fall in love with a cow, and then you have like two guys fall in love, and that's funny, right? But then later, clear situations of like these people should be into each other of the same sex, like they avoid.
I also didn't really like a guy falling in love with a guy being equated as just as funny and wrong as a guy
That's
falling
what
in
I
love with
mean.
a cow.
Yeah.
That's very, very bad.
That's
Yeah.
really
Should we
terrible. That's
open this up?
problematic jar territory,
All right.
for sure.
So this is happening. I mean, we already started talking about it, but this is going on right now in this teaser where the arrows are flying and people are starting to act weird in this town square. There's also aggressive lady falling in love with dude. That's another one.
Right. Women aren't supposed to be aggressive when they're in love. Clearly something weird's afoot.
And then Joxer shows up and Xena is gloriously angry about it.
Yeah.
I really loved all her all the faces she made.
What was the line about, like, she was just talking about someone, no one has enough reckless courage or something
To go up against Draco, yeah.
Draco, and then he
Yeah.
appears. Because, of course, he does.
I feel like, it's like Bloody Mary. Like, if you say something about only an idiot would do that, Joxer will appear.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
They summoned him.
Yeah. So he's already a little bit like, he's like, oh, like, hey, Gabby, like a little weird about Gabs.
Yeah, and I think she's a little weird about him.
Really?
Which is Chris Mannheim's heterosexual agenda.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
She sort of, like, doesn't make eye contact with him and sort of, like, looks away, like, hey, Joxer. It's kind of flirty.
Interesting.
And put a pin in that, because there will be some other little hints over the course of the
no.
episode.
All right.
I wonder if that kind of performance is because of the episode itself. Like,
Yeah.
they kind of already start doing it because they know where the episode is going.
I mean, that's definitely a part of it, for sure.
Then Draco shows up, and I love this whole business here because he kind of shows up off screen. You hear him first, and then you see like the way that Charles Siebert directed it. The blocking just has Xena, Joxer, and Gabrielle on screen. You also don't see Baby Bliss, and you just see the arrow come at her.
Yeah, and I love that the arrow kind of hits her. It's not even in a close-up. You
Yeah,
have
it's
to
like a
be
wide shot,
watching really closely to see that happen.
Yeah.
And I guess he did that, Charles Siebert, did that so that you'd almost have this suspense. Draco swaggers in, and Xena's like, hello, Draco, in her, like, warrior princess voice. And you're like, oh, man, something's about to go down.
Yeah.
So it's like building the tension in this way that you think is going to lead to a fight. But instead, it leads into, like, this big Hollywood movie kiss.
Yo, as if you're describing like an old-timey kiss. No, this was like she went to town on his face. Oh my God. Very open mouth.
And, like, the camera's spinning around them, and you're just like, what the
It's amazing.
Yeah, it pulls back. This is like a shot of them standing far away.
Yeah.
Comes back in. It's very, very, very good, I have to say.
And then Joxer's like, what is she doing? And Gabrielle's like, it's all part of her plan, I hope.
I gotta say it though, Draco is super hot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would hit that so fast. He's so sexy. I felt that way even about him in Sins of the Past. I
Yeah.
love that they brought him back for this kind of romantic comedy lead role because he is so charismatic. And I think has really great chemistry with Lucy Lawless.
Totally.
Listen, we're not even at the scene, or are we, where I need to go swim in a cold lake.
Almost there. So Draco kind of like comes up for air, like literally, he's like gasping for air after this kiss, and decides that what Xena's doing is some kind of distraction technique. So he's like, oh, and I'm not gonna let you foul up my big score. And they have this like really weird dialogue with each other. Xena says something to Draco like, you forced things between us once before.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Like,
What was that about?
I don't know. It made me feel really weird.
I don't... It wasn't in the show.
Was she referring, though? I feel like
Reference,
she was referring to the pilot somehow.
Somehow,
Like that,
maybe.
Their weird head fight and however that came about.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Maybe
now.
that's what it is.
I think has to be it, because like that's the last time we've seen him, right? He hasn't.
And he
appeared.
does kind of like indecently propose to her in Sins of the Past. He's like,
Yeah, he wanted to team up.
come ride with me. I mean, I wish we knew more about their past together, pre-Sins of the Past. Like, what was that relationship? It seems to have had a sexual component, and maybe even a romantic component for Draco's part, but it's really unclear. And lines like this just make me go like, what? What is the deal between these two people?
Huh. Send us the fan fictions, please.
Yeah. So Xena wants Draco to lay off the Hestian virgins, and in return, he can lay on her.
Okay.
You know, like my lines.
I have one too. Like later when Xena's like, you can ride with me. I think what she should have really said was, you can ride me.
Oh, boy.
Which doesn't make a lot of anatomical sense, but whatever.
Let's talk about their fight scene here.
Okay.
The flirt fight scene.
Xena's not on her A game at all in this fight.
Well, she's not trying to be. As they mentioned, she's not doing any kind of offensive moves. It's all defense in between flirts. And it's effing hot.
It is very hot. And I love just like how her whole performance changes. Like she has this very... It almost reminded me of Evil Xena, both the look on her face and her voice, which is, again, pitched a little higher. And she just has this sort of devilish expression all the time, which I guess is her sex face.
Evil Xena definitely radiates a certain sexuality, like
Yeah,
just the aura about her.
How is
hotness.
that different than regular Xena?
Well, it's like more contained, and you have to like appreciate it in that way.
Just in a different
I mean,
way.
it comes out sometimes, like when she, grins during fights. There is a certain sexual component to that, visibly enjoying herself. Yeah, it's just so apparent here. At first I was like, wow, you almost think she has, like, reverted, just like in the price. You're like, oh no, Xena!
Yeah, man, their chemistry is just like off the chain here. I honestly was uncomfortable watching this. And Xena definitely had her, the juices were flowing there, because the scene ended with her lusty boob grab.
Yeah.
Of her own
Of her own boob.
She's just like standing there, grabbing her own boob, breastplate.
It was
Is that a thing anybody does?
epic.
When you're really just
Maybe not your breastplate. Certainly your boobs.
in a certain mood, I guess.
Yeah, in a certain mood.
And then you cut to her blowing off steam a different way.
Oh.
Like going to town on a little boxing
Yeah.
thingy, punching bag
Yes,
thing,
punching bag,
the G.
It was really funny, man. Lucy was hilarious in this scene.
I also really love the camera work here because the camera sort of slowly moves to the side so that you can see Gabrielle standing right behind her, just looking at her. And the look on Gabrielle's face watching Xena punching the shit out of this bag is just so funny.
Poor
Like, really
Gabrielle.
makes it.
So
Yeah.
confused.
Her line is, "What's wrong with you?"
Clearly something is wrong.
Yeah, this is where Joxer suggests a cold swim in the lake sometimes, cures these wants. and needs.
And the ladies react, or maybe it's just Gabrielle who reacts, going like, what? When do you ever need that?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's how you know something's up with Joxer.
He also gets hit by the punching bag, which Xena punches off of its little hinge.
I love Xena's justification for what's going on with her. She's just like, I'm merely responding to that dark part of me that has a weakness for bad boys.
Yeah.
Which is the best and truest line of this entire episode.
So true, and I had no idea Xena had that much self-awareness.
She's so cognizant
I
of it.
wanted to applaud her. I was like, you understand all your problems. Is this new?
Well, later she sort of mentions it in a later episode about her type.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad Xena knows,
knows.
because maybe she won't make that same mistake again. Oh, wait, she will.
And Gabrielle, real frustrated, goes, we can't stop Draco when you're so worked up over him.
So Xena now has the amazing plan that she can stop Draco and be worked up over him if only she can change him. Xena doesn't know that you can't change the ones you love. She's determined that if, she went through this whole redemptive arc, maybe she can force that same issue with Draco.
Draco's like taking a little bath.
Yeah, Draco really thinks he knows exactly how to play Xena in this situation. Draco has a very high opinion of his own charms. And he's right! Man, he's so right.
So he's in this bath in his tent, and then, hello, there's Xena.
Well, I love this because I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. It's the female gaze. You're like looking at his fabulous bod while he's taking a bath. And
It's
then,
no Theodora's bod, but whatever.
yeah, we know about your love for Theodora's. But like the camera pulls back and you realize that it's a female gaze because there is a female present gazing upon it. It's Xena doing some awesome sitting.
Right, so then the female gaze starts, evaluating the awesome sitting, and we're like, we love it.
And Xena's eating a banana.
She also has some grapes.
Oy.
They were big round ones.
This episode is full of innuendo food.
So Xena offers him this deal that he can ride with her and do good things. We can tell from his performance that he is not into this, but he kind of goes along with it, which I thought was interesting.
Well, this is the whole conversation where she's like, you previously tried to...
Right. She references something he said in Sins of the Past, where he said, I tried to go home once, and my father almost beat me to death with a blacksmith's hammer. Mm-hmm. So she references that. And I think it's a great little moment of complexity for Draco, both in Sins of the Past and its reference here. Like, Xena isn't, like, talking to, like, a totally evil dude being like, I know there's good in you. She's talking to a man who seems, kind of like a reasonable person who might actually be convinced to go through with this, even though it's so clear from his pragmatic responses to her that he has no plan to actually do this. But you see why maybe she would make this mistake. It's not just Xena seeing with the eyes of love. You feel like there's a grain of reason in what she's saying.
This is a really weird thing, though, because Xena was really bad. She did a lot of very terrible things.
Much worse than anything Draco's done.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. The sex slavery is really not okay. Like,
No.
really not.
She's sort of, she was definitely willing to, trade people to various other people. Anyway, she has some shady business in her past, too, for sure. And if she can reform, which we are watching the program where she does, literally, it opens up to anyone, technically speaking, in her eyes. She's like, if I can do it, like any old schmo warlord can, too,
Don't call Draco a schmo warlord.
Oh, I'm sorry. She says, with me, profit's not always measured in gold, because he's all about the biggest score of his life, which is these Hestian virgins.
Yeah, I love these lines. They reminded me a lot of Path Not Taken, where there was a lot of talk between Xena and Marcus about profit.
Yeah.
And this question of, why would anybody do something not for profit? And that's Xena. That's what she does. So I like that it comes up again, that there's this sense that, Xena's life is a life where you don't care about money anymore.
Yeah, although they have plenty of it somehow. So Draco does not follow this and goes to the temple, and we see this shot of this one Hestian virgin with these big old muscular shoulders.
It was a cool shot.
Who could it be?
Yeah.
But it was a really cool shot. It was overhead, you see the altar, and then the camera kind of comes down and finds mysterious head priestess with muscular shoulders.
She's in full character here because they chase her and she's like, ah!
She runs like she doesn't know how to run. Almost a Phoebe run, but not really.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it turns out that it's Xena. She is in disguise.
She is.
And her plan here is that she hid the virgins in plain sight. She tells him exactly what the plan is.
Which is an odd choice by her, because can't he just go into the village and grab the villagers?
Like any woman he sees, he can grab. So they're in regular clothes in the village. And you can't tell them apart from other women.
It's a good plan, right?
I feel like it would be if she just didn't say it to him.
Yeah, don't tell the plan.
Xena's not thinking with her brain this episode.
Her upstairs brain.
Her upstairs brain. So meanwhile, Joxer and Gabs are out in front of the temple defending it from Draco. There's a moment between them. Draco takes Joxer hostage. And unpin my pin for a second. Gabrielle looks really upset about this and uses her patented soft voice and says, Joxer.
Oh no!
That's,
Whipping out the patented soft voice.
that's hardcore, y'all.
Oof. She also has a lot darker lippy
Yeah, she
than
has
usual.
crazy lipstick here.
Yeah.
Lipstick of
Very
heterosexuality.
particular shade.
Yeah, it just was very out of place. So they're tied up kind of back to back on a stake in the middle of the square. And they have like gags on, so it's like a lot of screaming and hilarious body movements.
And then finally, I think it's Xena removes Gabrielle's gag. And the only intelligible word you hear her say is, what is it, guys?
Joxer! Oh no!
This episode has an agenda.
Ugh, and then there's a little bit of like baiting here.
We should talk about this maybe like a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a really, really, really big, important topic.
Yeah.
I don't think that Xena is queer baiting in the least as a show.
As a show, yeah.
And then when you said all those quotes and stuff, and then I thought about this moment, and it bummed me out a little.
Yeah.
If it was being written very specifically to be pulling back on the subtext, to put it in there.
Like, this is a definition of a queer bait right now.
No. But like on the whole, the show, it is just not.
No.
It actually physically upsets me when people accuse the show of being queer baity,
Right.
because in general it very much is just doing whatever it can do for the time, especially, and then I think that this will go away more when we get to later seasons.
Yeah, it's still kind of struggling with the subtext and like, we can easily just do some headships.
I wouldn't have even thought that. I hadn't thought that in the moment watching it, because I just thought it was like, here's the show doing its thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But like when you say these quotes at me, I'm like, yeah. Anyway, we didn't say what happened.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Gabrielle gets hit with the arrow. By the way, this little fucking kid only appears at this point specifically to cause problems for our characters.
Of course.
Previously, it's like he was shooting arrows left and right. Everyone was getting it. Then he goes away somewhere and only pops back in when one of our guys needs to get hit with an arrow. So he gets Gabrielle, and, she's like, Xena? It's like slow-mo. Xena? And kind of like goes around. There's Xena. And then that very last second,
what's gonna happen?
Joxer steps in
So she
into
sees
her
him
line of
first.
sight.
He
Yeah.
literally cockblocks.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking about like later when they were actually like gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then they were told they
Not-
couldn't.
yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
right.
Wait, what's that one?
That's the
Fins,
fish.
fins,
Yeah.
and gems.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in it.
All right.
Right, so this is our new love connection here. Gabrielle is into Joxer.
I love how Renee plays this. It's very, very funny. I love that she keeps like twiddling little bits on his costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a good, I mean, I don't ship it, but I love their rapport
Yeah.
a lot. And that clearly it's because they're such great friends.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about their rapport before.
Yeah, I love that Renee is such a serious actor, but you feel like when she's in scenes with Ted, it really gives her license to be really goofy. Like,
Well,
outrageously
she's also
goofy.
she's really good at being goofy. Like literally everyone on this cast is amazing at acting, and especially our like main peeps, so great at drama and also so great at comedy, y'all. So yeah, she's really hilarious. Like I was sitting there LOLing so many times. I hated that Joxer did not have his like awesome hero Joxer shirt and outfit underneath the armor. He has what seems to be his normal clothes, which is like a shitty shirt that's made out of Hercules' pants. Like
He only had the Princess Bride outfit for that spell. Like, I feel like Aphrodite waved her magic
and
wand,
fixed his shirt.
and he had a better shirt on underneath his armor.
Yeah.
Xena and Draco are like arm wrestling now.
Oh, I love the way
so
this is shot.
This is like a double scene of the same kind of blocking
Yeah.
situation. Where we have our standard Xena various clothes and weaponry strewn across the floor of various places, and it's some dialogue that's full of innuendo. What is going on? They're arm wrestling.
Their arm wrestling. And then you do the same thing for Gabrielle and Joxer. You see their armor and weapons scattered around, and eventually you find them, and what are they
Oh
doing?
my god, her lines though, she's like, oh, if I don't practice, I'll never
yeah.
get better. I was
Girl.
like, oh,
Poor Gabs.
oh my god.
But they're just singing.
The Joxer song. The Joxer song.
That's right. That's right.
But that is another part where like they were being very sweet together, and just these little details. She has her finger on his arm, poking him and stuff.
Oh
It's
my
just
god, can we
very
discuss
sweet?
his pasty body?
He's
next to
very
her?
pale.
He's white. He's like a sheet. It's amazing.
I love Ted.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Sweet,
great.
gentle Ted.
So she's really going to town on him, and there's some kissing.
There's a lot of. She's just like chewing on his ears
Yeah.
and his neck. Like she's really
Yeah.
going to town, and he's just. I guess he's trying to be a gentleman or something.
Yeah.
He's trying to just keep singing. Just keep singing your song.
Yeah. So he kind of like, after she kisses him, he starts coughing to try to get her away from him. He's like, get some water. So she goes to the lake, and that's where she finds Xena taking up his advice of being in the lake.
Oh my god, this is so funny.
She's just the
Just
best.
a
sitting
little
there.
head,
Yeah.
grumpily.
Grumpy head.
Cooling up.
Yeah. So adorable.
She's like grumpy cat taking
Yep.
a bath, and you know cats don't like being wet,
Yep.
and that's exactly the vibes I was getting from her.
But her element is water.
Is it working for her here?
Yeah.
Or against?
I mean, it is.
So now Xena and Gabrielle have this really hilarious conversation about Joxer.
Oh my god. Yes, they do.
Where Gabrielle's like, Joxer's full of good ideas, including taking the cold bath.
Yeah.
And Xena kind of looks at her quizzically and says, no, I said Joxer.
It's so great. Oh my god. Yeah, and then they fight over their respective men.
Who's a better catch, do you guys think? Who's right in this argument? One is a sex slaver, and one is Joxer.
This is
Joxer.
this is Sophie's choice.
A would you rather situation.
Yeah. Boy. So Draco's men do find the virgins in the town because it turns out that they kept their little Hestian outfit underneath their regular clothes. So really, you just have to kind of like take a piece of clothing off to see if she's really a Hestian virgin or not.
We haven't talked about it, but those Hestian virgin costumes are ridiculous. They're, you know, they've taken a celibacy vow, and yet they're wearing these, like, dish towels that are meant to be dresses.
Are they problematic?
No.
Oh, it's just a choice.
Yeah, so you have these lines of these soldiers, you know, running after these girls with, you know, like saying like, take your clothes off, and it's kind of scary. But...
Yeah. And Draco even instructs them. He's like, don't devalue the merchandise.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
Ugh.
gross.
Yep. And little baby Blitz comes back at this opportunity to arrow Draco.
And who does he see?
Gabrielle.
Like standing up to him, which I
Yeah.
love, that it's in a moment of actually Gabrielle being awesome. And like anyone would fall in love with her, even without a spell, if she like raised her staff at you and went like, don't you dare. So then Xena sees that Draco is in love with Gabrielle and is like jealous and horrified. And this is the moment for Xena where she begins to realize that something's wrong. She, of course, didn't figure it out from her own situation. But when she sees that Draco is in love with Gabrielle, she really comes to this revelation that, oh, there must be some kind of spell at work. Because
she didn't see it with Gabrielle being into Joxer
well,
either.
that was I think the wheels were beginning to turn there, but that was still maybe within the like accepted probability for her. Whereas this is just like one too many.
This one doesn't make sense. How could he choose Gabs?
Oh. Between you and me, she's a little.
Yeah. Again, what is this
was
line?
that line?
Yeah, what was that line, Chris?
A little gay?
What?
You know what? Fixed for me. I like this.
Oh.
Draco kidnaps both Joxer and Gabrielle.
I thought it was really funny how this was edited together. You see Joxer out on the horse. Meanwhile, Gabrielle and Xena are inside the temple, peeking through the windows. They see Joxer and they're like, oh, help! And Gabrielle, who's in love with Joxer, is like, Pookie!
She calls him Pookie.
Yeah, she doesn't call him Pookie right there, but let's just pretend she did. And then it just like, you cut back to Xena looking through the window, and then suddenly Gabrielle is out there on a horse too.
Yeah, I mean, we should point out that Joxer got kidnapped because he went to get the scroll of the Hestian Virgin who dropped in and was like, my scroll!
Because he's brave.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
Sweet.
nice move.
So now we have Gabrielle in Draco's tent.
Oof, this was epic Pepe Le Pew business here.
No.
This is rough. Draco's trying to get it.
Yep.
There's a conversation about cherries that is almost too disgusting for me to repeat.
Yeah.
More innuendo food.
I like that they're really grapes with cherry
really?
stems. Yeah, that was on Woosh. Because
Oh my God.
then you don't have to spit the pit out in the take.
Which is really
Oh.
clever.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but however, I did see that bowl and I was like, ooh, those cherries don't look quite ripe. I mean, they look overripe and they're
Wow.
dark.
Didn't notice.
I can't see anybody eating cherries without thinking about that English aristocrat who died from a surfeit of cherries. I don't know if that's a surfeit. How do you say that
Surfeit.
word? Surfeit of cherries.
What?
Yeah.
She ate too many cherries and died.
She probably had an issue with them
Yeah.
to begin with.
Wow,
But-
all right.
I think that's a great way to go.
Okay. Xena rescues Joxer.
Oh, I thought this was really well done too. Good
Yeah.
little bit, maybe by Charles Siebert, the director, but you see Joxer straining against the ropes binding him. He's trying to,
Yeah.
just like pop him off with his big muscles. And it seems like he gets it. The ropes fall off, and then like Xena jumps out from behind him, revealing that she obviously cut the ropes.
So good.
And he's all like, we gotta rescue Gabrielle, we gotta get her. And I love how she's like, oh, you've got the love thing too, huh? You know?
Yeah.
So soon.
Yeah.
No, man.
Tragic. And then Xena hits Draco over the head with a jar.
This part is amazing.
This is my favorite part of the whole episode. She says, I'm sorry, sweetie. Then she's like, sweetie, when did I ever use that word? Oh, he's just so cute.
Yeah. She like grabs at her mouth like
Yeah.
the little monkey
To,
emoji.
like, just keep
yeah.
the words from coming out.
So
This
cute.
is, she's starting to figure out something.
Yeah,
wrong
she
with
knows
that.
it's weird,
And
yeah.
I think that her first instinct is Aphrodite, but then quickly is like, no, it's like there's no vanity in it.
Yeah, it's just so random.
Yeah.
It's like a child's doing it.
Love is
Yeah.
blind, bitches.
Wait, that's Gabrielle hasn't come up with that yet.
Oh, you're right. Whoops.
So anyway, at least they're starting to figure out there's a problem.
Then Draco goes back to the temple where now the freed Gabrielle, Joxer, and
The virgins.
the virgins are back in there.
Yep. So it's a safe place.
Yeah.
But Draco threatens to burn it down. This was a good scene between him and Xena.
This is a great scene. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said it got a little serious about Xena and Gabrielle. Although Draco's perspective, I am unclear of
Yeah.
his perspective on their relationship.
Yeah, and I was unclear as an audience member watching this entire episode that went out of its way to not be about this relationship. Like, I was just couldn't understand this line and what it meant.
Because for
here.
me, there's like a slight tone shift in it. Here we're reaching towards the climax of the episode, And it felt like it got really serious. And, you know...
I feel like that's a patented Xena comedy thing, is to suddenly throw a serious curveball in there. It reminds me of the one serious moment in Day in the Life, where they're suddenly like, oh yeah, I might die. Like, what? We were having fun!
Do you actually have the line?
I do. Xena, so Draco threatens to torch the temple, and Xena says, you would kill the woman you love? And Draco's response is...
The question is, would you?
Right, again.
So he doesn't really know them.
Yeah, I know he does not.
Barely seen them interact. So what is he on about? And why did it get all serious about Xena killing Gabrielle, the woman she loves? What's happening?
Maybe during the arm wrestling and the, like, sexy back rubs, like, Xena was just like, oh,
What?
it's so cute when my friend Gabrielle does this, and, like, she's so sexy when she does that, and Draco's like, wait a minute.
So maybe he's just very perceptive enough to know that they're very good friends who travel together. I mean, clearly people know that they do this, right? Throughout the land at this point.
Would you group this one in with the queer baiting of the episode?
I hope not.
Because there's only 2 moments in it, like,
I think
so
that,
far.
like, when you, like, are just watching the episode and you're unfamiliar, as I was, with the context that you laid out in those quotes, it doesn't feel, like, different than these early season plays at subtext to me.
This one is okay to me. I guess the only problem I have with it is, as we've mentioned, the fact that it maybe isn't quite correct in context for Draco to know this information.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think somebody pointing this out to Xena is very consistent with what the show has done with Xena and Gabrielle's relationship and the way that characters react to it. Yeah, I don't consider this queer baiting, in part because it just doesn't feel as much like a winky wink to the audience.
No. And, I mean, obviously, if they're being very particular about them being not in a romantic relationship, they still love each other. You know,
Yeah.
They would still be best friends who love each other, which is, I guess, what he would be talking about from that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if that's almost like an apology for the vibe that's developing between Xena and Gabrielle in this episode, where they have to almost be competitive. I mean, Xena is being competitive with Gabs for Draco's love, which is not kind of an ugly place to put the character. Like, it's not really fun to see her, like, devaluing Gabs, like, sort of putting herself forward as, like, this better woman. Like, that is kind of
I would
annoying to
take
me.
this. I would take this line in any other episode, but here it just doesn't feel right to me. So Xena lets him have the virgins, and that's weird.
Yeah.
But she has a plan.
I forget what it is.
It involves sending Joxer on a mission.
Oh,
A
yes.
secret mission. And Draco was going to sell these virgins to this guy, Pinellas?
Yeah, Pinellas.
So this guy arrives and he's like, oh, great, here's my virgins. And where's that Amazon princess that's supposed to be thrown in here in this deal?
I love that we've really talked about this, but the source texts for this particular episode, it's called Comedy of Eros, which is a reference to Comedy of Errors, the Shakespeare play, which is a very ridiculous mistaken identity comedy. I think its plot is actually way more reminiscent of a different Shakespeare play, Midsummer Night's Dream, which has lots of love spells going wrong and lovers falling in love with the wrong people and a lot of hurt feelings and a little bestiality thrown in for good measure.
It's legit, yeah.
But this business with the note and what's coming up with the hallway scene where everybody's running through different doors and different pairs of lovers are ending up thrown together, that's all very like French farce. Letters getting doctored and going awry, which is also a big thing there. So this episode's actually doing a lot of like theater stuff, which is funny. So anyway, Pinellas.
Yeah, this is the guy who played Bacchus.
Oh, okay.
And he,
Wild!
Yeah, and he would he's later
I would never know
the
that.
beach guy from season 6.
He's a handsome man. Why they hide that underneath all the prosthetics? So this is actually pretty clever that he thinks he's getting an Amazon princess. Draco either is playing dumb or actually legitimately doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, because how would he know that Gabrielle is an Amazon princess?
So they bring out this princess, and it is Gabrielle in her Amazon outfit, which I guess she carries around with her.
Why? Yeah, of course. Of course she would.
Of course.
She might need it at, like this.
If she ever just randomly runs into the Amazons again, she'll be like, oh, wait, guys, let me change. So I'm ready.
It also says her outfit change for laundry day. So, so the point being that if Draco does not turn this Amazon princess over, then he's double-crossing Pinellas. And that's bad.
So Xena basically has pitted the two warlords against each other. They start fighting each other, and that gives the Hestian virgins a good cover to escape.
Yeah, so Gabrielle kind of runs them away to safety, which is like into a cave.
Into a cave.
Yeah, but Draco's soldiers are like, no, they're getting away. Let's chase them. And who shows up? Our favorite
baby Bliss.
Our favorite little bitch, little baby Bliss. And he arrows away at the virgins and the soldiers. So here's where my beef is, right?
Yeah.
They are in groups together, and they should clearly fall in love with their respective groups.
They would only have been seeing
each other.
Yeah, they're looking.
They're
like running in a line, so they'd see the girl in front of them.
Seriously, in a group like that.
Yeah, so only like the first soldier would fall in love with the last virgin.
Exactly.
Right? They all, of course, fall in love with the opposite sex.
Don't make any sense.
I do like, though, what actually happens with kind of the war of the sexes thing, where you have these, like, creepy rapists chasing these ladies, but once the ladies are hit by these love arrows, they start chasing the men, and the men are terrified by women expressing their own sexuality, and they just run. The men run away. They can't handle it.
We already established that in the teaser where that lady was chasing that guy.
Yeah.
Problematic.
Throw a coin in.
Xena kills a lot of Draco's men in this fight.
Really?
She does.
Well, they're really bad. They're bad dudes.
So the kill count at this point is 68.
Oh boy.
Did you just kill like a dozen people?
It jumped. It's 6 dudes.
Wow.
According to the internet.
Okay.
But it jumped in this one.
Pretty hardcore in this very light, silly episode.
Yeah. So then here we have our Scooby-Doo door comedy gag where everybody runs into random doors and chases each other. And oh my God, I don't know. How long does this last for? 5 minutes?
Longer probably than it needed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, derelict single dad Cupid comes back and explains his absence from the scene by being like, sorry, I was tied up. Which is, God. I guess he's been doing some light BDSM with a friend.
50 Shades.
Definitely what was happening.
It's Bliss's mom. He says your mom.
I know. That's weird though. Who the hell is this lady? Why doesn't she care about little baby Bliss?
Yeah, she really does not.
No. No interest. Xena basically blackmails him into taking the spell off everybody who she tells him to. So he unspells Gabrielle. He unspells Xena. He tries to unspell Joxer, but nothing happens. Joxer is still making these big romantic declarations to Gabs.
Yeah, it involved a lot of comedy smacking Ted in the forehead with his palm.
Mm-hmm. And Xena at this point already seems to know that Joxer's for real. She says that as much to Cupid in this kind of long-suffering way that she figured it out before this moment. But meanwhile, there's Draco, who she decides to let remain under the spell in the hopes that it'll somehow lead to him seeking redemption.
Which is good, but also bad.
It's a little bit non-consensual weirdness.
Yeah, weird mind stuff.
He's forced things between them before. Now she has.
Jeez.
Who says the line, you can't change the one you love, so wise up, besides Amy Mann?
She says that perhaps to Cupid himself. That's part of her... Xena's rationale for why poor Draco has to remain under the love spell.
Yeah, and she says kind of like...
Oh, no, she says it to Draco.
Oh.
That's who she says
About
it to.
Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Okay.
That Gabrielle only loves people who don't hurt others and, like, reform their lives. Basically, Gabrielle only loves people like Xena. So, Draco, if you could be more like Xena, clean up your life, stop murdering people, except those 6 dudes you just murdered right there, Xena. What are you talking about? Then maybe Gabrielle would go for it. She says this fully knowing that Gabrielle will never go for it. So it's actually really horrible what she does to Draco, because she like locks him in this obsessive, unrequited passion forever.
Yeah.
It's like
Poor
torture.
Draco.
I guess.
But he's gonna do
But
good.
he's gonna be doing nice things.
He's gonna try. Emphasis on the try. I love his whole shtick about like when he's trying to like bargain for like what actually constitutes being good. He'll only kill the old people or the livestock, other looters and raiders. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, and she's like, love suits him. That's how she justifies it. So now we have our campfire ending of the episode, which is a really nice scene.
Gabrielle's just laughing about being with Joxer. Like she thinks this is hysterical, that's what she was made to do under the influence of the spell. And poor Joxer is just like in physical pain, listening to her laugh.
Taking it.
He lets out this really morose ha ha.
I mean, it's sad. Like, your heart does break a little bit for him in that situation.
I love Ted's choice to just kind of like stare. You just see this like frozen staring expression on his face. Like he's not overdoing it. It's just this very like actually gripping, upsetting choice.
And Gabrielle goes off to sleep, ostensibly.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the camera's on Joxer, and then Xena touches his shoulder.
Yeah, you just see her hand, kind of really nice,
yeah,
like comforting shoulder
He's
pat.
like tearing up.
Yeah.
It's like becoming really serious.
Yeah, and so when you do see her face, I mean, technically speaking, it's amazing. Like, it is a very great, like, dramatic emotion from Xena.
Yeah, she feels for him.
Like, massive empathy.
It's the first time we've ever really seen that from Xena for Joxer. I mean, we had that nice little scene at the end of For Him the Bell Tolls where she was kind of
But that was
cheering him
like, but you always feel like she's doing it kind of like, oh, I should do this. you know?
and the reveal at the end of that scene, at the end of Bell Tolls, is that she was doing it because Gabrielle told her to.
Right, yeah.
Well, this is a very relatable subject.
Ooh.
Loving Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the one hand, it's like this amazing, empathetic face from Xena where she's so upset for him and feels for him legitimately, even though, you know, this episode started with her completely rolling her eyes that he was even part of this episode. Right, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, she's basically going, well, I'm gonna go fuck the woman you love. Bye!
Season over.
Yeah, on that weird note, we fade out.
Yeah.
On Joxer's face.
On Joxer, yeah.
Being upset. And that's the end of season 2.
Yeah, what do you guys think of that choice?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
It's different. I mean, I do actually really love ending the season with this joyous, sexy farce where everybody's just having a good time.
Okay.
I feel like this season has just been such a hard slog for the cast. You know, it like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So I feel like having a comedy at the end, just sort of a celebration of fun. And at this point, you can tell that Lucy is pretty damn recovered from everything and can just enjoy herself and enjoy being on the show. And I think that's a great note to play us out on. Like, we're all back together again. Everything is fine. Joxer's sad. Whoops.
But your real season finale is the price in your head.
Oh, absolutely. The price just has it all.
Yeah.
Everything that comes after the price, even wonderful, sweet Lost Mariner, which is a great episode in its own kind of modest way. But the price is ambitious and it's huge. And yeah, in my mind, it's the true season finale.
Yeah, I wish the episode order was flipped a little bit. I would have put Comedy of Eros, then Mariner, then The Price.
Mm. And it kind of would have been fine.
It would have been fine.
Yeah. Just shooting order and whatever.
Yeah, maybe
business,
something
finishing
wasn't finished
stuff
in time.
and
Yeah.
It was a choice for sure. I liked the episode.
And honestly, even Eros, despite some of its flaws that we pointed out, is really fun and does just feel like a great way to let off steam. I love especially those two parallel moments of Xena and Draco having their little sexy scene and Gabrielle and Joxer. It just feels like the characters get this moment to just kind of enjoy being alive. And I feel like they've earned that, even if it's sort of in these weird, not consensual circumstances. But they both deserve some afternoon delight. So I'm glad they got it.
Yeah. Hear, hear. That concludes season 2.
We're done with season 2.
That's
we are
crazy.
Moving on to season 3.
What are we gonna do?
You
Oh my
guys.
god!
Stop the train! I must get off!
favorites.
Oh my
from
god, of season 2?
Season 2.
Ooh.
It's hard.
There are a lot of good
masterpieces
ones
in here.
So,
The Giant Killer.
no. Return of Callisto.
Oh, snap.
We got
Yeah,
A
of
Day in the
course.
Life.
Intimate Stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Callisto
The Price?
episodes,
The
please.
Price.
My fave, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh.
A lot of heavy hitters. Some really memorable episodes. And yeah, considering the like triumph over adversity that this whole season represents, like it's amazing how many really classic episodes came out of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, as previously mentioned, we are just so excited for season 3.
Oh my
Although
goodness.
We cannot imagine how we're gonna
I'm scared.
do it because they're so good.
It's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Yeah, and then we have some, exciting things in the pipes coming up. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Just put a pin in things.
Yeah.
Stuff and things.
And thank you, as always, listeners, for sticking with us. We want to say thanks to everybody on Twitter, on Facebook for these amazing discussions that happen.
Tumblr.
Yeah, Tumblr. And I want to say thank you to everybody at the Z-Night retreat. We heard our podcast got a lot of love there.
So
We're
nice.
very honored.
Yeah, that sounded like a blast.
Yeah, and we're very sad that we weren't
severe
there.
FOMO.
Yeah, total.
Total FOMO.
That concludes season 2 officially.
Whoa.
Bye, season 2. We'll miss you. We'll miss you, Boat.
Boat's
But
gonna
the
come back.
Oh, good.
Eventually.
Oh, eventually is
Yeah. Well, you guys can follow us on all the things that we previously just now mentioned, but we will mention
Destiny. My favorite
Yeah.
is Destiny.
again. The boat. The number one boat.
Great.
Number 1 boat.
Yeah.
Action.
I will be here defending the quest, even though it's not, your favorites. It has smoochins.
You're allowed to love the quest.
You can love that part of the quest.
I do. Anyway.
Yeah, back to the
Back to the actual sign off.
actual sign
We're
off.
done. Yeah.
Yes.
Follow us on, subscribe, please, on iTunes. You can listen to all the episodes there. Catch up seasons 1 and 2. If you are really digging it, we would always appreciate your feedback. Rate, leave a review. Totally cool. We are also on Google Play and Stitcher if iTunes is not your thing. Follow us on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod. Come join the discussions on Facebook. We're Xena Warrior Podcast there. Fun posts on Tumblr. All the social medias. We're somewhere. Find us. Xena Warrior Podcast. Hey.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast!